Okay, I was hearing my phone going off, and I was like, Benjamin Dixon, he wrote something. And I decided to check in the tweet thread. And I'm not going to put this on the screen because, one, I cannot do this with the phone. And I'm still trying to wake up. And yeah, it's like 1:26 p.m. March 1st. So, yeah, I hate being ill. Anyway, so this guy asked, why are older people more likely to be conservative minded? The age demographic made a huge difference in the results from the South Carolina primary. Now, I'm still learning about framing and whatnot. It's because you grow up one way, hearing things, so that's how you frame it, that's how you word it, and you don't realize if you're being inflammatory or not. You just word it the way you word it because you don't really know any better. And so when he asked that, you can tell that it's Bernie lost South Carolina because of the older people being so conservative. And it's more or less a severe complaint. That's kind of the best way I could put it. A severe complaint. Why y'all be conservative? Because, y'all just cost Bernie. That's messed up. That's how you can, I guess, interpolate it or interpret it. But this also goes to prove that Twitter isn't full of a bunch of yahoos and trash talkers and whatnot. It's not, and it's not Twitter anyway. It's the people. Twitter is just a device. It's the people that decide to say what they say and act the way they act. So this dude, I'm going to call names out because I like what they all had to say. But the one that wrote this was Jermasian 31, and then you got Edward Lawson Jr. PhD, and he you know what? It was a good one. He says they've lived through the last 30 to 40 years of Republicans turning conservative into a virtue and liberal into an insult. Which, yeah, I've gone over that, but that's a great way to sum it up. And that was good. That got a couple of retweets and some love. And then Kai Meadows writes, a lot of it has to do with the Red Scare and American exceptionalism propaganda. They are terrified of any other economic system. And that is also a great one. That should have got more retweets and more love. I'm gonna give that one a heart. And so then Ryan Leach, and I like this one. Not the most, but I like it. Because beneficiaries of the status quo live longer. And it's not, see, that's not even to say there's the older generation. That's to say the ones in charge are the ones that are reaping the most, so it benefits them the most to make sure everyone else sides with them. And that's good, to be able to call that out. Somebody else says Cold War propaganda brainwashing. Yeah, which is the Red Scare thing. Now, what they're missing, and I haven't checked every single one of these, what Benjamin Dixon had to say, but the truth is, this is how they were raised. This is how they were taught. This is just what they had to go through. This is what they are. And look, I can use my mom. I can use my whole family as an example. I can do that. And it's just how it was. And they still, like, I hear my mom, when I was growing up, my mom never said this stuff to me. I don't know, she adopted me, but she wouldn't try to instill too much into me. Never. But when it comes to, when my cousin moved in, that's when I would hear her start to say those lines of, a lady wouldn't act like this. A lady wouldn't say that. Well, girls don't do certain things. My woman's mom, she wanted to go in, for example, masonry. She wanted to go into a male field, and her father was like, nope, you're not doing that. You're just not. As for men, you found something else. But there was nothing else she wanted to do. So her dreams were crushed. In the South and areas around, Bible Belt South and other areas of the United States, especially the Midwest, which ain't that far from being the South, the truth is that's how it works for everyone. They're raised that way. You have to act this way. You have to think this way. Do these things. Don't do those things. And then when they do those things, when they work their life the way they're told to work it, then they're praised. Oh, you're doing right. You're doing right by your man. You're doing right by your woman. And it's nothing but toxic crap. That's really all it ever has been. But they have been trained. And when I say trained, I mean Pavlov's dog. I mean monkeys going into space. I mean, it don't matter. They have been trained to be that way, to be conservative. And they don't want it any other way. This is all I've known. This is what I'm used to. This is how it has to be. And they emotionally do not want to change. So they are extremely conservative. They have to live by the way of the Bible. If they don't live by the way of the Bible, then they're going to hell. God will punish them. Jesus will punish them. The Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost will not see them or talk to them or abandon them. They will be a pariah of the church and their family members. That is how it is from the Bible Belt to the Rust Belt. Because back in them days, if you didn't do what you were told to do, you would catch the belt. And people today that are growing up, everyone that's, roughly anyone born today, and that has been born probably, I'm going to say about maybe 95 and, 1995 and up, they are the ones that are like, wait a minute, something ain't right. And I ain't gonna say 95. I'm gonna go back to even 1990. Right when rap started taking a hard edge turn. Right about then. And that's its own subject, but rap has influenced a lot. A lot. And it made people want to be more mentally independent. But it was also in an extreme capitalistic way. People are programmable, just like a computer. They'll spit out the program that's been fed into them. So when they can get their information from song and people of, within their culture area, their demographic area, that think freely and is like, look, I'm not going to be this way. You're not going to be this way. We free. We can do whatever we want to do. And they hear that consistently, which overrides that Southern rearing. Then you get what's called these millennials. You get these free thinkers, forward thinkers. It's selfish thinking. But when they hear you have to vote this way because who else is going to get it done? Or I can get it done, so I'm going to do this. And then they're like, wait a minute. All I've listened to is Fox News. All mom and dad do is listen to this. What's anything else? So they go and check anything else. And then they learn about social media. They learn about the Young Turks. And then the Young Turks will tell them about other places. And then they'll go to those places. But those places are high-end places. So you go to the Young Turks, you're going to hear about secular talk. You're going to hear about stuff like that. You're going to hear about Ring of Fire, very high-end, heavy-hitting places. And you're not going to learn about the, little people. And so right now, you've got every single millennial that can't stand the media that their parents were fed all their life. And soon, someone's going to catch on and say, wait a minute. Now, when I say soon, I'm talking about in the next 30 or 40 years. Maybe 80. It takes a long time for someone to go, I wonder if I compare this to that. It takes about 1 to 2 generations for someone to be like, I wonder if, and then if that, this. Comparative reasoning, compare and contrast. It takes a while, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I've recently been talking to somebody that even though I told exactly what the future beholds, this person's like, I hear you, it sounds like it, but I'm not going to act like it. And then later, exceedingly pissed off and emotionally devastated that things turned out exactly the way I said. And I'm like, I told you. There's certain things the older generation can teach that the younger generation refused to listen to. And that's because the younger generation has right now for them, ongoing legacy of everything of the older generation that they wanted is terrible. It has not worked for us, but it had worked for them until they didn't realize the wool had been pulled over their eyes in their comfort zone without saying, wait a minute, do not need this pulled over my face. What are you doing? And why are you doing it? Because the older generation has been taught one thing for sure. You do not question two things: your elders and authority. That's it. And when the politicians have made sure to let you know that the money is authority, that these people in these three-piece suits are authority, that the police are the authority, you don't question it, you go with it. And it sucks because it'll lead into, and then I will segue from this, it will lead into cops taking sexual advantage of people of all areas of life. Multiple, and I mean tons of little black girls, black teens, and some adult black women have been raped by cops because what you gonna do? And that's the mindset. What am I gonna do? I'm in this situation. They're the authority. They got the gun. If I say this person raped me, no one's gonna believe it. Not only because they're the cop, but it's a white cop. Then let's push that to the extreme. I'm black. Therefore, I have no say. That's what happens. So in time, maybe by 2060, 2080, people will be like, and I will not be around. I will be dead by then. It'd be nice if I won't, but I don't know, would it? But at the same time, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna end up saying, what's social media doing? Because social media will become a new mainstream. They're already, mainstream enough, but they aren't the mainstream. And they're going to wonder, why don't we hear about these other people? Why don't they talk? And they're going to start saying now, because what's going to happen is they're going to say, now all the progressive stuff, Young Turks, they're going to say, if Secular Talk has any, descendant, or if he's still going and things like that, they're going to be like, and Benjamin Dixon too, they're going to be like, wait a minute, what have you been feeding us? It's a capitalist system, people. It's capitalism. This is what it is. And when you have a capitalist system, you must capitalize on everything. So before I go out, I want to give you this, because history always repeats itself. That's how the older generation kind of can see the future. At first, we had great journalism. We had great debates. We got great information. Did this happen? You make up your mind. We give you the facts of what we've uncovered, and you make up your mind what you want to do. When the news media and newspaper, when they discovered that they can make money, a lot more money off of propaganda, more so than anything else, with these big donors and advertisers, the big donating advertisers, oh my goodness. Yeah, if you're going to get paid hundreds of thousands and then later millions of dollars just to say, I'm going to spread your word over anybody else's, and I'm not going to report the absolute truth just enough, and then turn tribalism, saying that, the Republicans are trying this, but the Democrats are blocking or getting in the way. And they talk about freedom. You talk about being a patriot. You talk about, keeping your money. You talk about all the opposites of what you're doing. What happens then is all the conservatives raised for those 20 to 25 years before that, those youngsters they turn into your puppets. That's what happens. And that's scary because that means they're going to raise the same type of people. So the boomers raise those type of people. Gen X is a division. Do you stay with what you were reared to be, or do you break off and say something else has got to be better? And Gen X eventually raises the millennials. And you've got those in between. You've got those in between boomers and X and millennials. You got those little pieces in between. And those little pieces are very vital because they're the ones that's going to ask those questions like, why this and why not that, to both sides. And because of that, you've got some of the older people that come out and say, I'm not voting this way. I'm going to change. I'm not changing my ways or my beliefs, but I'm certainly not going to vote the same way because I know enough now. Not everything, but just enough to know I'm not going to continue to be fooled. And when social media comes in saying, I'm going to give you the truth, I'm going to give you journalism, and we're going to act a certain way and be a certain way and build our base that way for 15 plus years, and suddenly get certain contracts, donors, and sponsors, then they start to get quiet. They don't report the media like they should. They don't report it like they used to. They aren't so open and brazen. They're not so strong and forward thinking because you don't, like this is taught in the South. This is one of the first things taught in the South. You do not bite the hand that feeds you. And they'll teach you this second. I put food on the table, clothes on your back, a roof over your head. You owe me. And I've talked about that in a previous video. And so when you're taught this level of submission, of bow your heads and deal with it, when you get up away from that, you want to lift your head and wonder what's going on. You don't know what anything looked like and you don't understand the conversations. And so social media, when you have that, and you're like, what's going on? How is it going on? And why is it going on? You're practically a blank slate. It's no different when you see if you ever watch shows of the Amish coming out. And they leave their small, tight-knit community and go out to, places in California or Miami, Florida, things like that. And the people, these newer people, they get to hear the social media change. And that's what's going to happen. There's going to be another generation where they say, y'all believe this for progressives, but y'all didn't necessarily do anything progressive. You only did what should have been done when your parents or grandparents in that area, you only did what they should have had. You only got that. When you should have leapfrogged that into the new extreme of forward thinking so that you could be on track of all the things we should have had so long ago. And you helped them. And the social media helped you stay that way. Because when you are part of the capitalist system, you're not thinking anymore on how do you get forward-thinking ways to better society. You find a way to keep the machine going for you so you get money. And that, in the end, only hurts. It's the people of social media that doesn't care about the money but the message. They don't care about the money but the need. That's what they care about. And that's why you cannot have elitists anywhere. Because no matter if it's going to be the days of old of great journalism that turned into financial propaganda just to keep that money rolling in, that was taken over and debunked by social media, that was progressive, that got big donors and backers that eventually say, I got to keep the machine going. So we're not going to cure your cold, but we will definitely do our best to make sure we calm the symptoms. You want the cure. You don't want a cover. You don't want a blanket. You don't want a placebo. You want a cure. And while A lot of social media, like Young Turks and whatnot, initially was the cure. They were simply trying to push what we should have had 40 and 50 and 60 years ago. And we need people out there that's trying to be the future, not correct the past. And being part of the future means you have to correct the past. And that's fine. It's needed. But if your entire generational fight is only to correct the past, then you have failed not only yourself, but your descendants and those that came before you, your recent ancestors, your grandparents, your parents. Be forward thinking, be better. That is the greatest message I could possibly give. Don't go for the money. Don't go for the money. Go for the need. Listen to people. If you care, you will listen. If you listen, then you know what to do. And when you know what to do, then you can formulate a plan on how to get it done. This is Sedrik Kennedy for Comparative Reasoning. Thank you for listening.